Oh. 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 I'm here. Hello, everyone. Wait, no one's here. Hello. Ah, I forgot to open. Wait. Give me a minute. Forgot to open the auto tube. I knew I was forgetting something. Heartwarming. Which is we saying heartwarming about anything. Aloha. Hi, trash. Hi, trash. We are here. Oh, hi, Nino. Ding dong, you created a random task which will help Nino somehow fill up the snack cabinet. Hey, let her have fun. Let's let her enjoy herself. Yeah. Oh, Pookie. Keep up the good work. Sure. Oh, whose birthday is this? Oh, Siugu. Evil woman birthday. Red silk. The red silk as curtains. Birthday candles of lamp. I suppose this means today's protagonist is none other than myself. Happy birthday, evil woman. No, it's also oh, it's the new character. The new Eternal Nightmares girl. I can't do the freaking sound effects they put on her. The stars align. Oh, stars align. Please fortune in their palace and fortune converge. Now, young friend, you happen to arrive at this very moment. It would appear that today is my birthday. Happy birthday! Oh, oh, that's where the, okay. That's where the demon skin comes in. Wait, I just need to see. Because it's a really nice skin, even though I don't give a shit about it. Wait, no! Wait, I actually didn't, wait, no, wait. I didn't want to actually play Eternal Nightmares. Wait. I just wanted to see how many rewards I need before I get the skin. Wonder if it's limited time or... what do you say? Permanent. Wing.
Save your breath, you city simpleton.
Hi, Awu.
The gap between you and this genius line dancer can never be bridged.
She's so proud of herself. Alright, I'll do my dailies while I just give the stream a little bit more time.
Foul-smelling places.
For people to drop in. I still have not caught up with main story. God.
Oh.
I spent the I spent half the day today studying Turkish and then the other half trying to polish up the layout of, like, I'm planning to make a NeoCities website. I don't know when I'll get to it, like actually coding it. But I do want to have that there eventually. Designing has been a big fucking headache. I've been using Figma. But I just don't know what I exactly want, which is my biggest problem, I think. Just don't know what exactly I want. I've been looking at other websites, but like, I don't know. You know, you keep seeing like cool cool motifs, cool sites, and you're like, wow, that would be nice to make, but you know, branding, I have to think about that because the website's gonna reflect me. I do want it to be semi-professional. I'll have like fun stuff in there, like maybe monthly updates or something. That would be nice. Or like monthly reflections. And of course I would like showcase any games I helped make. Link them on itch.io. I'm not sure how it's set up, but yeah, am I making it? I guess it's kind of a portfolio, yeah. I just want somewhere to dump all my work without having it be social media. I think that's my main goal with this. Which ends up kind of being portfolio-like, I think. Oh, I didn't open streamer. I just realized I didn't open streamer bot. Fuck. Fuck. Wait, I need streamer bot for the in case someone redeems the funny video. Gotcha. Wait. Wait. Where is it? There it is. It's tough. It is tough. Like, I want this website to be up so that if I want to, like, disappear off the face of any social media platform, like, my art's still somewhere. What I want my Twitter, I think, like, a couple doodles got lost in the sauce. Yes, exactly. Like, what if I just want to disappear off the face of the internet, but I still want to keep an archive? I should be able to do that if I wanted. That's primarily my reason for the website. I want a place that's like my own. But I don't want it to be like completely silly. Maybe I'll put like a best works section that sort of like functions that kind of a portfolio. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. If I get pissed off too much by any of the social media sites I'm on, I can still find me on my site, I guess. Convenient.
Oh, perfect
Sounds
timing.
cool. Yeah.
Still early before closing time. Feel like losing a game or two?
I should keep up with more NeoCities and like indie websites in general. I do want to. They're very cool. They're very nice to look at. Oh. Yeah, get apples and oranges. Sometimes be nuts preserved fruits carefully wrapped in red little pouches. Everyone who I see their websites are so... I know. I have... One of my mutuals has their own site. Lizzie. Wait, I don't remember what their site's name, the actual domain name is, but when I looked at it, I was like, whoa. That's awesome. I know one of my other mutuals is working on their site right now. They're like trying to do it to familiarize themselves with just web development in general. I don't think I'm gonna delve that deep into web dev, but like if whatever serves my purposes, I'll go into. But besides that, I don't know if I'll go into it more. New mail? No. Wait, I'm doing my dailies. That's been my project recently. I should also work on like portfolio pieces so I can apply to jobs, but I just don't fucking feel like it. I don't feel like it. I don't know what to make even. Okay, daily's done. We can now go. I know. I also feel crazy. Like, I have a couple things I did that I can compile into portfolio, I guess, but I don't know. I feel like I can do better. Exactly. I need someone to tell me what to do. I'm not good at coming up with concepts. You have to tell me what to do and then I'll run with it. I promise. Bye. Wait, no, I didn't want to do interrogations. Why am I in interrogations now? Oh, wait, new center. Right, I got that. Okay. Yeah, where are you? There she is. Hi. Am I missing anyone now? I have Shane, I have Hestia, I have Vanilla, I have Pilgia. I have Drea. Okay, I have all of them. Are they planning like one more? There's a suspiciously empty space here. Especially if the concept has to be professional. Yeah, right? Right. Like, all these design exercises I see online are like, think of a brand for your fucking cozy bakery and design the visual language for it. And I just don't... I feel no passion for this enough to motivate me to work on it for 2 weeks. Unless I'm being paid to.
Timing.
Then I will work on it for more than 2 weeks.
Feel like losing a game or two?
The same thing with concept art. Just anything. Wait, why did I go back here? No, I'm done. Stop. Stop it. I'm so lost in the sauce. Okay, okay. We're here. We're here. We're going in. We're going in. We're going in, chat. Oh yeah, I should redesign my overlay to actually match what my website looks like now that I think about it. Not to Nowhere Chapter 5. It's Path to Nowhere Chapter 5. We read the intro chapter last... No, wait, did I click the... Yes, I did. Okay. Click the right chapter. Alright.
All this long wait, and no sign of any gangsters or mania weapons. Those liars. They're definitely up to something.
They're gonna fuck up the negotiations.
We've been on guard for only half an hour. The enemies might be biding their time.
You look around, hardly any souls to be seen, and no murderous malice to be felt. This is your assigned station, but there are only a few low-ranking sheriffs around. They seem to be paying much closer attention to you than the enemies hiding around the neighborhood. Sounds like we're the ones under surveillance. Under surveillance.
My point exactly.
Knowing that there won't be an attack from gangsters, you turn around and tell the sheriffs that you're going to patrol the surrounding area. They don't stop you, but as you walk away, they lower their hands to speak into their walkie-talkies, all wearing a tense expression.
We're being followed. They're still spying on us from a
I'm
distance. Probably some other sheriffs.
Yeah. It's alright. Let them follow. This isn't the right time to start a conflict. You need to gather information first. From what you've just observed, both parties have come here prepared. They must have made some arrangements around the square. Hecate, send Nightmare out to search the area for Legion members and gangster carrying me. I can't do this. I can't read. Hella, you've been shadowing for all those years. You must know sheriffs around here quite well.
Yes, that's right. Hearing you say it out loud makes me feel all queasy, though.
Here's your task. Keep a close eye on the sheriffs while you're on patrol and see who's behaving strangely. If you notice that something's off with several of them around the same area, let me know.
Yahoo! Now that sounds exciting! I'll take care of it.
Before you can walk a distance away, the intercom comes on.
Chief, it's me. I noticed that you've left your station and acted on your own. May I ask what happened?
Can you all get off my back? That was fast. Who told you about this?
I've been listening in on the Public Security Bureau's intercom, but I was only able to get the peripheral channel.
Okay.
Chief, this negotiation is not as simple as it
You'll
seems.
say.
The situation may be worse than we expected. I'll be there as soon as possible. Before then, don't take any action on your own.
Do you know something?
No, I only have a limited amount of information so far. The Public Security Bureau suggested I take you back, but they didn't include the MBCC in this mission.
The FAC works with the Public Security Bureau. Does it know about this?
I'm not clear about the details of their cooperation, but I know that functionally the FAC answers to the City Council and is duty-bound to ensure the safety of the delegation from the East Side.
Uh-huh.
I think they are aware of the seriousness of the situation.
A short silence at Nightingale's end.
Where things stand, it's only understandable that you don't trust the FAC or even me. But as your adjutant, I still have one request to make.
Uh-huh.
If you're ever in danger, do let me know. Whether you trust us or not, the MBCC can't afford to lose you.
Okay. Alright. You disconnect the communication. It appears that she can reach you anytime she wants, but you're not sure if this is a kind of reliable support or just another form of surveillance.
Hey, I found the strange guys you asked about. Over there.
Uh-huh. Go
See
home.
those dumbhead cops there? Since just now, they've been keeping their guns up absent-mindedly and checking their watches all the time. Something's definitely off. They're guarding that godforsaken corner, and yet they look tenser than all the other patrollers. Judging from my years' experience of spying on the cops, I dare say they're up to no good.
Thanks, Hella. Nice job. Let's go. Nice job. Whoa, what did Langley say again? Let's go back to celebrate or something.
Well, who's there? FAC? Aren't you supposed to stay in the square? And what are these two rascals doing there? Well, get out. You got no business here.
You look tense. You keep checking your watch. Is there something coming up? We can stay here and help. Your words anger him.
Are you deaf or something? Get your ass out of here. This isn't where you're supposed to be. Get out of the way.
Uh-huh.
Chief, 9 o'clock. There's an ambush. A small group of gangsters.
Okay.
None of your business.
None of
Let
your
out.
business. Well, the anxious look on his face tells a different story. Get those guys out of hiding.
Copy that.
Cries of terror burst from within the low building under Nightmare's attack. Seconds later, a line of gangsters stumbles out.
Damn it! Quick! Load them down! Don't let any of them escape!
The weapons carried by the ambushers are ordinary guns, not high-duty weapons from the Legion, nor mania weapons from the cave.
Why did weak asses like you come here to mess with us? Spill it out!
This
Yeah.
is not how we planned it. It's not time yet. Not yet.
Wait a second. Which gang are you with? Who's giving you orders?
Bing, 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 bing. Before she can get an answer, one of the sheriffs nearby starts shouting.
It's the Legion! The Legion is attacking the square!
Oh, of
They're
course.
trying to sabotage the negotiation!
Of course, that's the move. I see. I see now. I see. I see. Okay, we're seeing what Zoya's up to while we're doing that.
All this fuss, and we're back to square one. You lot are a buzzkill.
Tens of guns are aimed at Zoya, who finds herself facing a solid wall of heavy armored soldiers and several eye-blinding cold lights. This isn't a negotiation hall, but an execution ground.
The Legion is attacking the square. That's solid evidence of subversion. The city council has cleared your extermination.
Of course. Of course, yeah.
Your riot is over. Zoya, raise your hands. Raise your hands and surrender yourself.
Hey, I get
Do
to
you
clap
hear
your
me?
hands.
Shoot me already, or shut up! Don't give me this threatening crap.
Oh my god. Your eyes are so scared. Oh, she looks like that one. It looks like that one image of the guy like crossing his arms with blue eyes, except with no smile. It's like staring at you with a cold blue eye. Her aura overpowers everyone present. That silence takes over the hall.
You haven't set foot in Syndicate for years. Why have you chosen to come back here today of all days? Right when the Legion is about to eradicate all other gangs and take over Syndicate.
Blue eye stare, yeah, she has. Yes, severe blue eye stare.
Because you'll lose your source of income once the gangs are eradicated? Or because the Legion has come upon some secret that will choke off your career? Let's return to the negotiation table, Burns. Director of the City Council, former chief of the local security precinct.
A deep, indignant voice pipes up from behind the wall of sword soldiers, somewhere the light can't reach.
This isn't a threat. There hasn't been a negotiation. This is an order. Turn over the inheritance and the sinner, or you and your Legion will perish today. Your deaths will restore the authority of the West District Order Management Regulations and serve as a reminder to all Syndicans of what awaits those who rebel.
Okay.
Oh, wow. You're like a mad dog that has got its tail stepped on and can do nothing but bark. If you're so concerned about getting caught, you shouldn't have hooked up with those mania peddlers and allowed them to ruin Syndicate.
Burns' face goes even darker.
What did that sinner tell you?
The kid didn't discover it. I guessed it. She didn't realize that the source of a piece of information is as important as the information itself. This subordinate of mine learned the whereabouts of the inheritance while she was half-conscious in captivity. She was held in the MBCC, then in the Public Security Bureau of the West District. Drugging imprisoned sinners is right up the alley of those timid sheriffs. The question is, why did that particular piece of information appear in the cell? While the Legion had searched for it for so long, interrogated so many gangsters, and trashed so many black markets to no avail.
Are you implying the Public Security Bureau is proliferating mania weapons?
Yes.
Don't play dumb with me. Give me the arms dealer you've been protecting.
Shut it, you thug! You don't have a clue of what I'm trying to achieve here.
He pulls out his handgun and points it at Zoya, staring daggers at her.
You rotten rats! You scorn education! You have no vision! You refuse to see the bigger picture! All you do is fight each other in the mire of violence, and then rot and descend along with this stinky neighborhood!
And who set it up to be like this?
Be quiet and accept your death. To think you even tried to lay a finger on me! I am the man who will stand on the top of the city, who will lead it to true glory!
Don't make me laugh. You're a Syndicant too. 13 years ago, you signed the West District Order Management Regulations. By betraying Syndicate to make a fortune and cultivate connections, you got yourself out of Syndicate and into the Public Security Bureau, and eventually got to where you are today. You're flaunting your new identity, and at the same time, you're eager to cut yourself off from your past. Looks like you want to be a pure dignitary.
Shut it!
He opens fire and a few dozen gangsters rush towards and fire with their ridiculously heavy-duty guns at Zoya in rapid succession. The mania crystals in the weapons glow a dazzling red. She doesn't attempt to dodge the gunfire. In anger, she's produced around herself a powerful field that keeps the gunfire from reaching her.
See? You despise the violence of Syndicate, but when you come face to face with it, all you do is bluster from a safe distance.
Holy shit, Zoya's got tabs on this guy. Zoya knows a lot of things.
If it weren't for these filthy weapons, you wouldn't even dare breathe loudly in front of me. You can't wipe the slate clean, Burns. No matter how degenerate the Syndicans might become, you will be the most hideous of them all.
Every firearm, be it the standard issue gun of the sheriffs or the mania weapon of the gangsters, is pointed at the only outcast in the hall. Undeterred, Zoya strides on.
To be honest, I did hold a glimmer of hope that there would be more of those simple-minded straight shooters, so that the stinky script wouldn't be followed again. Sure enough, there can only be one possible ending for this city in the hands of people like you.
I don't like people like you. She throws a heavy punch downwards, cracking the solid concrete floor instantly and sending the nearest circle of mixed soldiers up into the air.
I hear people who have nothing to do with this or don't follow orders aren't allowed in. So it means these are all your people. Great. Then I won't feel bad for killing any of you.
Howls of anguish swirl around the conference hall. Zoya casts aside an unconscious gangster. God damn it! And feels distant vibrations coming up from the ground. I'm gonna put my phone on silent. Shut up! Oh.
Earl did it anyway? I've told them this is my business only. Those guys, they're holding me back. I should make quick work of this, or they'll be down before I come to their aid.
Oh, the actual Legionnaire. As she speaks, Zoya steps over the elite sheriffs lying haphazardly on the floor. She grabs Burns, who has been knocked over by the impacts, and picks him up from the floor.
Now tell me about this friend of yours, Mr. Burns.
Oh my god, I thought it was in my room. I was confused. No, it was my phone, my bad. Okay, add it to the list of things I need to do before stream. I need to put my phone in silent. Yep. What's Chief doing? The sheriff grabs one of the gangsters and points a gun at his head.
Answer me! Who ordered you here?
Yo, mom.
The Legion! It's the Legion! They asked us to charge into the square at 8:30 and make a scene to distract the sheriffs. Then Zoya could kidnap the attendees of the negotiation.
Me when I lie?
What the
What the?
This is solid evidence.
This is solid evidence.
Zoya broke off the negotiations with violence at 0830 and attempted to attack Mr. Burns.
The gangsters told me. Solid evidence.
Alert everyone! The Legion is starting a coup! Put it down immediately!
He fishes out his walkie-talkie, but you knock it out of his hand right away.
How dare you! Are you defying the order from the Public Security Bureau?
This has to be true. No way it's not. They said so.
You gave me misinformation not so long ago.
This has nothing to do with the FAC. You've been assigned here by the City Council. Keep to your assigned task.
Bleh. I'm the chief of the Minos Bureau of Crisis Control, and I didn't receive any orders. The Legion came to the negotiation under the endorsement of MBCC. It falls on me to find out if they're really causing any trouble.
What do you want?
Girl, what do you... Okay, don't worry, I just want to sort out what's going on first.
I don't know anything.
Me and I lie? You know Earl? He's a second in command of the Legion. He and I have an appointment. We're meeting up for a drink before our departure. He must have some other angle by inviting me for a drink if the Legion does want to sabotage the negotiation. I'll go and meet him now. If I can ascertain that he's subversive, I'll arrest him right then and there. He's a cunning man. I don't want him to get suspicious, so I'll only take sinners with me. You stay here, and we'll keep in touch.
Okay. We'll wait for you here.
He steals a look at the sinners by your side and squeezes the words out.
What's going on here? I'm confused. Why are we here? How much longer do we have to wait? Since when did you become friends with Earl?
Hella, I think you... Have you lied? I think you know what lying is. I'm not his friend. It's a lie. That was a lie. I lied to her just now. No. Ugh. Apparently, the Public Security Bureau has hooked up with some gang to frame the Legion. Their plan is crude and heavy-handed, which goes to show they're determined and will carry it through by hook or by crook. They won't tell you anything about the plan, nor will they allow you to get in the way. If your guess is correct, the reason they allowed you and Earl to talk it out can only be...
Chief, we've got company. They've been following us.
Yeah, I bet. A group of gangsters flies out of the dark alleys, each carrying a heavy-duty mania weapon and wearing a malicious look.
A trap? We've been tricked?
It's alright. They're the ones who are trapped. Get the party started. There's no way we'll lose to these minions. I want the leader alive. I'm gonna ask him something. With everyone else out of the way. Battle sequence skipped.
Let me go! Let me go! I don't know anything! I'm here on
These guys
their orders.
scream so much.
He said the Legion would be gone forever today! And the old order would return to Syndicate!
Who wants the Legion gone?
Everyone! Everyone in Syndicate wants them dead! For almost 2 decades, Syndicate has been held together by the rules, trade, transactions, and turf conflicts. That's the order of Syndicate. But the Legion has disrupted our order. That's why we all...
Pillow thrusts one end of the water pipe into his mouth.
We all? Speak for yourself. Now answer me. Who ordered you here? Who took the lead? Your gangs or the Public Security Bureau?
Wow, look at our little interrogator. Wow.
Stop it! I don't know anything! I just...
Hit him with your pipe, Pillow.
Ambush.
Oh shit. Never mind. From across the road, a dozen of guns fire at you. You avoid them all thanks to Hekate's warning, but the captive is covered with bullet holes. Oh shit, they killed the... Okay. A familiar sheriff appears before you with a team. Looks like someone can't wait to explain what just happened.
You should have followed our orders, madam. Mr. Burns fully understands your position. He doesn't need a sinner lover to remain.
A sinner lover. That's like a slur. That's just nasty. Someone's at the end of their rope.
Mr. Burns has said this is the punishment for your failure to do your duty. You failed to apprehend the targets you were asked to. And you failed to put the dangerous sinners under control.
What the hell are you talking about?
Role has put the Public Security Bureau in a
What
tight
the
spot.
hell are you saying? What are you... Play my role? Do you mean the role I played when you used the whole Suspects R thing to trick me? Thanks to you, I got myself involved in the Syndicate gang fights. Thanks to you, I tried to hunt down a Legion sinner who had nothing to do with the riot. What did that kid have on you?
Enough said. Now shut up. Shut up for good.
We're gonna kill you. We're going to kill you. From behind him. A team of sheriffs rush out and point their guns at you. They're getting their own hands dirty, a sign that they're desperate and have lost basic judgment. Your 2 sinners plant themselves in front of you, facing the guns with no fear.
No one gets to harm the chief.
Or should I say, none of you useless scum gets to harm the chief.
I can
Come
do
on.
it!
I'll send you to meet your maker.
A monstrous armored vehicle rolls into the center of the battlefield and blocks all the bullets coming your way. You hear the huge iron gate being kicked open and a dozen or so people jump down from the vehicle and start charging, howling as they go. A door on the driver's side, which is closer to you, opens and out comes a metal prosthetic leg, followed by that familiar grim voice.
Don't get yourself involved,
Oh, there he
Chief,
is.
or you'll get yourself in trouble in some internal blame game. You should learn to let the gangsters do the dirty work.
Instead of wasting your time here, why don't you go around the area and seek out your old friends in Syndicate for a drink? They must have a lot to say to you.
Next up, the Legion's gonna follow their unreliable boss and rise in rebellion. What are you gonna do, Chief?
Let's go.
Eliminate us for the authorities, or join us in turning this place upside down.
I'm joining you. You know this old fox wouldn't strike for no good reason. Surely you won't go back to the sheriff's, but it's way too dangerous to just jump ship. You look at Earl and the idea hits you. I'll go with you, but you need to do something for me first. Let's turn this place upside down.
Chief? Chief, you there?
Hello, Adjutant. The Legion speaking. Tell everyone, including
Oh,
the
we're
Public
faking
Security
a
Bureau,
faking a
that your
kidnapping.
chief has been kidnapped again. If you don't want her to come to any harm, stop calling and butt out.
Dale. As soon as he finishes, he crumbles the walkie-talkie in his hand and turns that familiar poker face of his to you.
Are you happy with this?
Yeah, very much. Now I can act freely.
Provided that your adjutant is buying this little trick.
It's not the first time I've been kidnapped by you anyway. She's a loyal adjutant. Even if she sees through the trick, she'll still do as you've asked, fend off the questions from the higher-ups. If she chooses to do otherwise, then you'll have no misgivings whatsoever.
Adjutant Nightingale is going to worry sick.
I'll apologize to her afterwards. The situation you're facing is convoluted. You have to eliminate risks first. From this moment on, until all is unveiled, you can trust nobody but yourself.
Conference hall is under attack. I repeat, conference hall is under attack. Security unit S-class alert initiated. Defend against the residual forces of the Legion. Defend the square at all costs. Repeat, defend the square at all costs.
You don't know what you're doing. The conference hall has plunged into chaos, accompanied by the penetrating shrike? Is that a word? Shrike of sirens. The sheriffs quickly assemble and set up multiple layers of defense against the upcoming attacks from the Legion outside. The residual forces of the Legion are now staying in several scheduled hideouts near the square. Watching the going-ons, you're among them.
They've let several teams of gangsters get into their defense network through sewers 6 and 18. Looks like the Bureau is going to intercept us with a security unit and let the gangsters with mania weapons attack Zoya.
Screw it! Boss has started the fire anyway, and it's time for us to make it burn brighter! Charge at those
Charge at those motherfuckers. You've anticipated this. Both sides have never wanted to sit down for a negotiation. You want to kill each other off. And I've been used for trap setting by both sides.
You caught on quick. And now you're using me instead.
Equivalent exchange or something. Looks like you and Zoya didn't agree on the details, though. His face falls.
I wish the commander had been more cold-hearted in using you. To either lure you to our side, or lock you up for the Legion.
He likes me.
That way, she wouldn't have risked going deep into the lion's den by herself, betting on something that doesn't even exist. She did that all because of you.
Although you've already allied yourself with this man, he still looks down his nose and makes barbed remarks at you. Or I wouldn't resent you so much if you were a bit nicer.
Yahoo, that's
Yahoo, that's
advisor and loving brother. Hey, don't look at me like that. Be nicer to girls.
Be nicer to girls. True.
We're wasting time here. Time for action. Now,
Tisk,
the main
tisk,
forces
no
of the Legion are
acknowledgement
gonna
of being
feign an
nicer to
attack from the
girls.
front to stall the Public Security Bureau. And I'm gonna go down to the sewer system through a secret passage in Street 13. Then I'll go deep into the square to find the commander.
Fire.
Well, I'm starting to think things went smoothly in this secret passage. Looks like I was getting ahead of myself.
It's the FAC!
Unlike the sheriffs, the FAC focuses on defense. They don't have much of an appetite for offense.
The FAC stayed put when the sheriffs assembled to attack the conference hall. This feels odd to you. Are they not under the command of the City Public Security Bureau? And Are they guarding against something else?
Even if they have no desire to attack, they'll definitely not let us pass. There's only one way. Get ready to attack.
We're hitting them
Hold on.
with hammers.
Chief is in an awkward
and
position
pipes.
here. Chief can't just jump ship. We need a strategy, so we should do this strategy thing.
Strategy.
Strategy. That's it. Strategy. Come on, come on!
Strategy. Yeah, 1 second. I need to turn the lights. Yep. Ooh. Looking at her excited face with a mischievous grin, you shy. Alright, you're gonna do what you're best at.
Everybody! The Legion's attacking. Prepare to confront them. Wait a second. They've taken someone hostage.
Yeah, save me.
The new MBCC chief?
I'm being held hostage by bugs. I'm so scared.
Yeah, the sinners turned their chief over to me. As a gift for allowing them to join the Legion.
Exactly.
This woman means a lot to you,
What he
right?
said.
I fixed a bomb in her head. If you don't want to see her dead, then get out of the way.
Earl grabs the nape of your neck. Over the past few days, you've grown accustomed to being kidnapped. The FAC team is swayed. You decide to play along. Please, I don't want to die. Help me.
Ah, darn it! We have no choice. We have to save the MBCC chief.
Yeah. That's a shame.
Thank you, my Legion friends. Oh, it feels so good to be free.
Revenge time.
We can eliminate them in no time.
Revenge time.
Charge! Let's go, Hecate!
He's having fun.
This is an order. This is an order.
It's okay, you can let loose, Hecate. It's okay.
Get out of the way.
Just as I expected, these monsters cannot be trusted. Shouldn't have included them in the combat troops in the first place.
Yeah, totally.
What do we do now? They have the chief.
We have the
Our
chief.
hands are tied. Should we let them pass?
Yes.
If we do let them pass, the chief will be in real danger.
No. Soldier in heavy armor arrives at the scene. His strides are firm and steady, and he's holding a heavy axe. The number 036 is painted on his armor, a clear indication that he's different from other soldiers.
The other soldiers are no longer confused. Careful. That man has boosted the morale of the troops with just a few words. He's no ordinary soldier.
I'll take command. We'll get her back here and now. Suppress them!
The heavy armored soldier 036 gives a wave of his hand. Several FAC soldiers raise their guns and start firing on you without reservation. All the bullets hit the ground near you. The fuck?
Really want Chief dead?
These are not ordinary bullets.
What are they? These bullets lodged in the ground start glowing blue, and you see sinners' bodies turn rigid for a second.
Don't worry. It's a short-lasting anti-mania mechanism, used specifically against corruptors.
Oh.
We can
I don't
handle
remember
it.
this.
It's a feint. Look!
Ooh. At this moment, the soldier clad in the huge white armor comes hurting in your direction. He's leading the charge. His great speed and tremendous force leave everyone dumbfounded.
Holy cow!
Holy cow!
Get down!
From his trench coat, he produces a handful of discs. He uses his power to turn the discs into bombs, which he throws at the oncoming enemies. The wave of explosions is keeping some of the soldiers at bay, but their leader shows no sign of hesitation, speeding up in your direction amid the blast.
Too close to use more powerful bombs. That guy's really... Be careful. He's no ordinary man.
I think I was told this already. Nightmare dashes forward and knocks the white armored soldier off balance. His left arm seems to have been dislocated, but he shows no intention of backing down. Once he regains his footing, he swings his axe. Why does the word axe trick me up so much? Every single time. Axe. He swings the axe with one hand to suppress Nightmare.
Get her back! Now!
More FAC soldiers are charging from behind him. The fighting is escalating. The soldier in heavy armor is always at the head, or lead, yeah, it's fine. You don't even know when he has reset his left arm in the middle of all this.
Power, experience, commanding of troops, willpower. This is a formidable enemy. Can't let this drag on any longer. Get out of here, you guys. Ah!
Ow. The formidable enemy penetrates the defense line and makes a lunge and knocks Earl onto the ground. He hoists his axe aloft and is about to bring it down when... Stop! Your exclamation gives the soldier pause. Earl snatches up a stone and hurls it at him. The moment it connects with his helmet, it blows up. Earl has controlled the force of the blast that is just enough to knock the soldier off his feet.
Advisor!
Get our guys back. And you, get out of here. Be quick!
Ella's first to act. She takes hold of you and whisks you away as the FAC soldiers rush to help their captain to his feet. The chip has been blasted off his visor. He's still alive, staring at you as you're retreating back without blinking. This time, he doesn't give chase. You managed to escape, but... I might have discovered we're working together.
At least that man knows it now, or he would never have let us go, given how much he wanted to save you. He's protecting you. He knew you had betrayed them, but he did nothing about it. Do you two know each other?
No, I've never seen this man in my life. Protecting you? You thought the FAC was on Public Security Bureau's side. The sudden knowledge of someone from the FAC is protecting you comes as a bit of a surprise. You caught a glimpse of that soldier's exposed eye as you escaped. It did look familiar to you, but you can't remember where and when you saw it.
The other soldiers are not coming after us either. The FAC doesn't seem so keen on staying too far away from their stronghold.
Looks like the FAC has some other task on them.
The defense line is extremely neat, with each strategic spot stationed with several strange-looking mega machines. It doesn't look like it's for cracking down on riots. Then what exactly are they for? You check your watch, which says 10:39. Right then, you're seized by a vague but sickening sensation, which seems to be a reaction to something that has happened out of thin air somewhere in the square. A sensation that is familiar and strange at the same time. That something... You feel you've met it recently, but you also feel it's slightly different from the thing you've met. Oh, we're going back to Zoya.
I'm telling the truth. I don't know any arms dealers. Those mania weapons came to us from various channels. I really don't know who they were. Oh, right. Well, we'll round up the Legion after killing you. The director's order is for us to take back the inheritance and kill the Legion sinner who escaped from the MBCC. The director tried to tweak some information to manipulate that new MBCC chief into taking care of the whole thing, but the new chief wasn't much of an order follower.
I know there's someone behind the mania weapons. I also know the Public Security Bureau has a connection with them. Your subordinate has given us quite a lot of information. And there will be no reinforcements for you for the time being. Stop beating around the bush, Burns. My patience is running thin.
The beans, Burns.
Well, at this point, I guess it won't hurt to tell you the truth. Over a decade ago, the gangs here were out of control. Many gangsters attempted to cross the Rust to attack the east side. I was the chief of the local security precinct back then. An order from the Public Security Bureau arrived at my desk, which instructed me to purge this place at all costs. The order came with a man who called himself an arms dealer. He said he could make my troubles go away. The arms dealer controlled the supply of weapons to the various gangs. He could help me build a balance of power among the gangs, and he would be able to keep the syndicates in the West District, so that they wouldn't cause troubles in the East Side. He made good on his promises. More importantly, he wants nothing but money. He won't try to build up his power base and take over a syndicate. He's also promised to always stay behind the scene and get involved only when I need him to. The problems of the West District can finally be solved. Finally.
His solution was to string the gangsters along with the promise of making them the overlords of Syndicate, then incite violence to drive up the price of arms.
Pretty good business model for an arms dealer, I suppose.
You, on the other hand, can control Syndicate at a low cost with the help of the arms dealer. You don't care about the lives of ordinary people anyway. Well, it's you and the arms dealer who are the real masters of Syndicate, not those short-lived overlords. Is the spreading of mania weapons part of your plan too?
I'll handle it. I'll be able to.
Who are these people? Where are they? What do they want?
After a long silence, Burns bursts into laughter. Faintly twisted kind of laughter.
Oh, I can tell you all that, but what would you do when you find them?
Oh
yeah, for all this time, you've been chasing new enemies. First the gangs, then the mania peddlers. What next? The Public Security Bureau? The East Side? The entire city?
Maybe.
You really think your syndicate will be all the better if you eradicate them all? Hell no. All you do is wreak destruction. You can't bring any real change.
Don't give me that crap. Answer my questions.
Answer her question. Zoya seizes hold of his collar, but he seems to be in a stupor. Continues laughing, and his listless laughter sounds both like taunts directed at Zoya and like whispers addressed to himself.
Go on! You're not the savior of the syndicate! Your power is the only source of your confidence! And you have nothing but that violent power of yours! You can't defeat him! The stronger you get, the more you are doomed to failure! C'est là you! Can't defeat yourself!
His eyes widen in horror and his body swells up and contorts into a mass of filth. Zoya leaps backward, narrowly avoiding the blast just as the mass of filth explodes. Ew. Oh, it's this fucking guy. It's the evil British man. In the wake of the explosion, a man clad in black rises to his feet. One hand holding a briefcase and the other holding an umbrella to shield himself from the raining drops of filth.
You're the man behind him.
What, the evil British man? He's so British and evil.
Yes.
See?
Syndicate has a new master. I've come to present a congratulations gift.
Actually, he kind of sounds like, he sounds like English sub Kifri a little bit. I need to see who this man's voice actor is now. I'll check after. It would be really funny. It would be so funny. As he raises the briefcase, a familiar sickening sensation washes over. Before he can open it, Zoya makes a beeline for him and punches through his torso.
I won't let you get your way!
Oh, that's the spirit. Treat me as an enemy.
The man dissolves like ink. The briefcase dissolves too, revealing a black cube. Oh, fuck. The cube explodes and spawns numerous spikes that penetrate Zoya's chest.
Ugh! Is this the inheritance?
Exactly. Stands more than one of them. Syndicate deserves more. You deserve more. Fight, Zoya. Fight with your true form. It's always been you that they desire.
Ooh! I love when the guitar kicks in this track, it's so good. What follows is a turbulent wail coming from the depths of your soul. In an instant, the mental contamination swallows you up like a tidal wave before you know what you're... But you know that you're not the one under attack. At the other end of the shackles, someone's consciousness has been torn to shreds. You're fully aware that this as you are being dragged into the abyss too. Oh, fuck. Yep, here it is. Here it comes. Who is it? Oh, Zoya. Who's... I'm scared. You should be. Oh, there's no timestamp. I guess time gets contorted inside a black ring.
Chief, how are you feeling?
Not so good. Your head is buzzing. Your field of vision is filled with purple blazes all over the place. In the air, some dark image comes on and off, but quivers into nothingness when you strain to see. You can't ascertain for the moment that if this is a post-traumatic visual malfunction or a sure sign of a corrupted world. How long have I been out?
Less than 20 minutes as far as our senses are concerned. But time here has been distorted too.
Yeah. She passes you the watch. It says 3 in the afternoon, but the second hand is traveling abnormally fast. And it comes to you. A large-scale contamination incident broke out in Keelan Square at 10:42. Soldiers and sirens are gone, and so is the roar of the helicopters. Only the utilating howling of corruptors can be heard. The film hangs above the neighborhood in the distance, making it fuzzy and misty, remote and dreamlike. You've been to the depths of many contamination sites, but this is a whole new vista. The contamination is not flowing out of a single source. Instead, the whole space is being distorted and enveloped by the contamination all at once. Where's Hella and Earl?
Hella needs rest. When you were knocked out cold by the contamination, Hella was somewhat affected because she's connected with
And
you?
you?
Shackles.
Nate's tone is even, but you notice that her voice is a lot higher than usual. What about you? You doing okay?
I'm fine. I can handle this level of impact. Now that you've come around, Chief, the shackles are functioning normally again, and the contamination is being suppressed. Hella will be alright.
Okay.
As for Earl, he wasn't affected, but he's worried about Zoya, so he didn't wait for you to wake up and left on his own.
That's not good. Oh. Zoya. You remember the voice you heard in your unconscious state. It was a cry coming from the other end of the shackles. Someone's trapped in limbo and fighting a bitter fight. You recall that before the blast knocked you out, you saw certain objects invade her consciousness, tearing at her soul. Its aura was too familiar, too twisted to be forgotten. Was it the inheritance from the crypt? How come it appeared in this place out of nowhere without any warning? Did Earl betray Zoya? Is there some other force you don't know about? Thinking hard about these questions, you feel your scalp going numb. But at the same time, they're tempting you to move forward like a deadly bewitchment. What lies ahead might be an abyss, or the answers you've longed for. Go to Zoya. She's still there, fighting on her own.
You still want to go deeper into the square? That's a maximum security area. If it ever becomes the center of a contamination outbreak, the density of corruptors there will be far beyond any crisis we've witnessed.
It's fine.
This contamination event is having a distinct effect on you too, Chief. What if...
I don't know. Kate, the shackles are unbreakable. If I sit this one out and something happens to Zoya, I'm not going to be able to stay unharmed. And I have a feeling that all this is just the beginning.
Got it. I'll go get Hela. A lot of battles await us.
In the contamination mist ahead, a few towering FAC machines have been turned on. Blue lights are cast in the direction of the center of the square, coalescing into a protective screen around it, as if anticipating the arrival of some unknown terror. Sensing through the shackles, you move in the direction of Zoya. Along the way, you keep coming across corruptors that have come into being because of the contamination. They slow you down. There are no humans in sight. The sheriffs and gangsters who stood in your way have all become corruptors. The lines of defense barriers in the square are now unmanned.
At least now we're not fighting the authorities. We don't have to explain our stance to corruptors. Makes things easier for Chief.
What's more of a pain in the ass than literal corruptors? The state.
Quite the opposite. This is worse. I'd rather take on humans, however obnoxious they might be, and fight them with my water pipe.
With my water
Instead
pipe.
of just waking up one day and finding out that everyone has become a monster all of a sudden. Hold on. That underboss of the Legion doesn't have any means of resisting contamination either. Could he have been...
That would mean
fine.
Earl is a sinner. If he goes manic and becomes deteriorated, he will be a more troublesome enemy, based on what we've seen in Salva.
Yep.
I don't want to fight any more Legion members, and definitely not Horo's brother.
We should have put the shackles on him, even if it meant using some dirty trick or taking some tough measure. You quicken your pace at the thought. You have so many things to ask him. About the inheritance that's appeared in the square, about the conspiracy behind the negotiation, about Zoya. A dense crowd of corruptors, however, blocks your way.
Why now? Why are there so many of them here?
Girl, I think we just explained.
Could it be the FAC machines over there?
It's those towering machines again. There aren't many of them, but they've been deployed strategically around the square, centering on the conference hall. They're casting blue light into the depths of the contamination. Come to think of it, corruptors along the way seem to have given these FAC machines the wide berth. Could this be the technology of the FAC uses to fight mania contamination?
These are the FAC's base stations for contamination shielding. I hear they can excite hypercubes to produce a force field to protect the city, but the effect is limited. This one seems out of order. We have to make a detour.
Wait, they're mauling something. Look at the clothes. A Legion member?
Ow. Or rather, already a corruptor. It makes a gurgling hiss creeping closer to you with the creeping shadows behind it. The sinners are still under some unknown pressure. A difficult situation overall. You glance at the silent machines. They haven't come to much damage, but if you can find the way to reboot this defense mechanism, things might work in your favor. You look down at the Legion soldier. His face is deformed, but you can recognize it. It's not Earl's. It belongs to someone who didn't even tell you his name in your encounter with him earlier. After the battle in the crypt, he accosted you. He draped his arm around your shoulders, making a move to be reconciled with you. He pressured you into emptying a big glass, as he babbled away about his dream of changing Syndicate with the Legion.
Commander, protect Commander Earl. Go. Quick.
Poor guy.
Let's put him out of his misery.
Why do you say it like that? Let's put him out of his misery. Why do you say it like you're okay. What do you say? Yeah. Nightmare ends his suffering. It has made quick work of it.
Only the supporting machinery can be turned on. There is no
They have
response
no
from
reaction.
the main machinery of the base stations.
Well, I suppose if they did, they would be having a much harder time right now.
These are not enough to drive all the enemies away. And the commotion is going to
That was
draw
so
more
good,
corruptors
water
to
fight.
us.
Let's put him out of his misery. He's so funny.
They are coming.
They're coming. Oh, that's kind of a badass, right? Under the purple light in the background, the more deformed creatures are inching their way out of the curtain of dust, not so far away. Judging by what's left of the clothes worn on the corruptors in the front, they were once Legion members.
No, it's the bro who helped me out once. I still owe him a couple bucks.
I owed him $5. It's the bro who helped me out once.
He is a corruptor now, Hela. Don't back
It's
away.
okay, you can keep
We
the
have to fight.
$5.
I know, but this is too much. This feeling. It's odd.
Damn girl, now the grief hits you? Oh my god, bro. A mixture of anger and sadness is pouring out in the other end of the shackles. The lone fighter is howling and struggling, seemingly overcome by the tragic scene before your eyes. Did Zoya see it through your eyes? Her pain is coming through to you from the other side end of the shackles. This has never happened before. What happened in Kaelan Square? What happened to Zoya?
Chief, hang in there. We must fight. I can still fight.
Sweetheart.
I can't let you.
She makes me feel so paternal. Hekate. The sound of gunshots, bullets trailing pale blue tails penetrate the torsos of a few corruptors and cause real damage to them. They turn to their attackers, but are hurled into the air before they can mount and counterattack. A white armored man hacks away with his axe where you are. He's wearing a helmet with a visor that has a chip on the upper right corner that you recognize. He's the leader of the FAC team, which you had a fierce fight with not so long ago.
FAC Special Operations Forces against Black Reigns, Captain of Team N7, Service Number 036, hereby report to you. We're not your enemy. Chief, our team will assist in protecting you.
Thanks, man. He takes off his helmet. You recognize the face.
Adjutant Nightingale, take Chief away.
Oh,
You've
it's
got me
the
here.
guy that appeared in the prologue stage for like 3 seconds. Welcome back, man. What part was I reading again?
I'll explain the details to you later. We have to deal with this crisis at hand first. My team will take care of the enemies coming from the front and start the main base station. They might attack us from behind. I hope you can intercept them. You can make use of all the supporting machinery here.
Okay.
And
He takes out a gadget embedded with a blue crystal, puts it in your palm, and asks you to hold it tightly.
it's a mania shield for individual use. The force field created by the hypercubes inside can temporarily alleviate the mental strain the shackles put on you, and at least allow your sinners to get back in fighting shape.
Captain!
Convenient.
The enemies are coming. The nearest ones are 20 meters away.
C formation, covering fire in 7 seconds.
6 to 7 seconds. He turns to you to give his final words.
Remember, no matter what happens, don't be swayed by your enemies, don't worry about us, and don't get distracted. It's our responsibility to protect you, and your only job is to protect yourself.
Thanks, man. Then he picks up his axe and charges the crowd of enemies amid a cacophony of gunfire. As the last corruptor meets its end, from behind you comes the electrical sound of the equipment being switched on. The main base station puts up a force field. Blue light cascades over your surrounding, slowly clearing up heavy, filthy air. You heave a sigh of relief, and your mind, which has been on the verge of a breakdown since you saw sufferings of the Legion, finally enjoys a brief respite.
The high concentration of contamination has bent space-time and entirely cut off communications. but this area is free of corruptors for the time being.
Sweet. I thought you were killed in the MBCC riot. Let's see again.
Me too. After the riot, I was transferred back to the DISC surveillance zone. Only yesterday I heard that you, the new chief of the MBCC, were doing an excellent job, and that headquarters intended to recruit you to help out in the district of DISC. I knew I would meet you sooner or later, but I didn't expect so soon.
Want popularity? Buy viewers on Streamaboo. I'm going to ban you. Goodbye. I get such a power trip when I ban these bots. It's so fun.
Not so long ago, I thought you had been kidnapped by the Legion, and your sinners had all defected. Guess I was wrong.
You tense up for a second. It's true that only a short while back you conspired with the Legion to fight these guys. 036 probably did not want to save you then, but all the other FSC soldiers in his team are evidently on their guard. They still look tense with the way they hold their guns, and you can feel their alert gaze on you even through the visors.
Don't worry, I'm not questioning your stance. Your adjutant has since explained the situation to me. I believe in you, Chief. You must have your reasons for doing so.
Thank you, 036. He believes women. Be like 036. Hashtag believe women.
But we're in a dire situation. If you were forced to take that action for some special reasons, or you've come across some special intel, please share it with me. Don't keep me in the dark. I'm not your enemy. The FAC won't be fooled into becoming someone's pawn in some political plot if we can help it. And we don't station our troops somewhere just to stand in someone's way. We came here only because we had received confidential information. An S-class or above mania crisis might break out in Keelan Square. And as you and I have seen, this warning is becoming a reality.
This guy's kind of awesome with it. Yeah, he's a certified good guy amongst all the shitty people we've come across so far. Well, Earl is a bit. Earl's not a bad guy. But he is kind of a pain in the ass sometimes, I guess.
What we've seen might only be the beginning. I have to know more. We have to take action.
You remain quiet for a moment, then you give a brief account for how the Public Security Bureau and the Legion started. What? How? Play games with each other. Your worries about the inheritance and the vague premonition that you sensed through the shackles. Earl is mean to women, is true.
So, that Earl guy from the Legion said the inheritance had been moved, but you can sense it's in the square now, and it suddenly appeared in the conference hall before the outbreak of contamination?
To be precise, I sense the same aura as the one from the inheritance.
Is it possible that they tricked you? Maybe Zoya did bring the inheritance into the conference
No,
hall
I know
and
what
released it
happened.
when the
No.
negotiation broke down, as a means of retaliation.
It's the evil British guy. None of you know, but there's an evil British guy.
As you said, she possesses a technique that allows her to seal the inheritance completely.
That white. This makes sense. Zoya did hide from you her real reason for attending the negotiation. But even if Zoya did wish to retaliate, you don't think she would use the thing she most hates as a weapon. She'd prefer her own fists. And you have a vague but even more unsettling premonition that comes to you through the shackles. I have a feeling that Zoya's under the control of the inheritance. That object once devoured a few dozen of maniac gangsters and extracted fearsome power from them, and has a fervent craving for Zoya. If it's the inheritance that's corrupting Zoya, I'm afraid that it must have attained much greater power, and that explains why it could bring about such widespread contamination. Zoya is doing everything she can to fight that thing.
That's what you sense through the shackles?
Yes, but that's just my sense. The FAC falls silent.
What's wrong? Why'd you get so serious all of a sudden?
Why so?
Captain, what are your orders? We're forever ready.
We'll fight alongside you until the very end, no matter what.
Wait. She said, why so serious? 1 second.
Why so serious?
Okay. We're going back.
I see.
Oh my god, I think that's awesome. Yeah, that's an event. That's not main story. Zero's kind of awesome. Why so serious? He turns.
The information you just gave is very important. For that glimmer of hope, we shall continue our fight.
You believe me?
I do. Predicaments faced by the FAC are always beyond easy comprehension, so your contribution is of vital importance. Thank you for letting us know how dire the situation is, and for giving us the silver lining. And now, for the silver lining, we shall fight to the last man. Team N7, assemble!
Yes, sir!
Head for the conference.
Damn, this guy has no sense of self-preservation. He's dedicated.
Be prepared to die for the mission. If there's only one man reaching the destination, give him all the firepower. This is our final mission. Kill Sinner Zoya before the Black Ring breaks out, at all costs.
I don't want to kill Zoya, though.
Risk of a Black Ring outbreak confirmed. Risk level upgraded to S+. Ground zero presumed to be Sinner Zoya. Troops for deployment in the risk area are Team FAC BRN-7 and MBCC's Sinner Squad. Go to the conference hall now. Kill Sinner Zoya before the concentration of contamination reaches the threshold level.
Yes, sir!
Yes, sir. Hold on, I can't accept that decision. The negotiation's apparently a plot. The Public Security Bureau and the force behind the inheritance are involved. We haven't found out the truth yet. We can't just declare Zoya the culprit.
Chief, a disaster is imminent. This is the only possible course of action.
The inheritance, not Sinner, is the source of mania. I saw it happen with my own eyes in the cave. The inheritance, which is used to produce mania weapons, turned humans into maniacs, then swallowed them to boost its own power.
I agree with you in that regard. This crisis is far more serious than the FAC expected. 80% of the anti-Black Ring system has been damaged, which is proof enough that the inheritance is much more powerful than we thought. But when you come down to it, the inheritance is just a catalyst. All this can be traced back to Zoya's mental contamination. We have to eliminate the source to dissolve this crisis. I understand how you feel, and I'm really sorry. But this is the only way out.
As he says these words, his face is a study in composure. His composure was what earned your trust, but now it chills you. Is this a fact or some resentful prejudice of yours? Sinners are the source of contamination and disasters? This isn't the first time I've heard this. Ignore a blatant plot, abandon all other solutions, pin everything on sinners, and problem solved. This way of thinking can only bring more tragedies. Syndicate can't take it anymore. Before 036 can respond, another person has come forward.
Blah, blabbity blah!
Blabbity blah. This guy is
Captain,
less
I'll
awesome.
carry this motor mouth with me. Stop wasting our time.
What do you think you're doing? Get your hands off the chief!
Take your filthy paws off me! This city got to where it is today because of you. You thugs. Monsters. Get lost. Tragedies, huh? If you had the slightest idea what real tragedies look like, what we are fighting, you wouldn't think to defend the sinners.
The soldier's outcry stops. He lets go of you, kneeling on the ground in pain. Standing behind him is 036, who has just dealt a mighty blow to his subordinate and is withdrawing his hand. But his face is completely devoid of anger.
Stop it, 702. The depletion of your hypercubes is speeding up. Don't lose control of your emotions. You don't want to get infected with mania here, right? Start mind suppression immediately.
Sorry, Captain. I'll keep my emotions under control. Sorry.
036 says no more. He turns to you and the two sinners supporting you become alert.
We didn't mean to antagonize you. We don't hate sinners. Our only enemy is the imminent catastrophe.
The guy with you certainly seems to.
For the purposes of our upcoming task, I hereby, in
I
accordance
am
with
not
Supplemental
homophobic.
Clause 74 of the Code of Confidentiality, divulge to you part of the FAC's confidential information, and assume accountability thus incurred. Everything you see now, from the corruption incidents caused by the contamination to this unsettling turn of events, is just a prelude. The Black Ring, keep the name in mind, it's the ultimate form of a mania crisis. It's an area that causes widespread, severe mental contamination. It appears when a mania crisis goes beyond its limits, it's a no-go zone of mania that cannot be eliminated.
What if... We do not hate sinners, time behind them. I hate sinners! Exactly.
Information about what's going on inside the Black Ring is extremely rare, since few can get out alive. We've only recorded the damage caused by the Black Ring.
Mysterious.
BR000 appeared in NF-84 in the wake of the Dis-C explosion. The number of direct deaths was 87,231, and up until the appearance of BR001, more than 200,000 maniacs had come into being.
Oh wow. Maniacs isn't corruptors, or maniacs isn't sinners?
BR001 appeared in NF-89. More than 30,000 people went missing.
Oh, that's
with an
only a
annual
few
addition
years
of
after
at least 200
BR000.
people. 3 years later, the contamination spilling out of BR001 formed the isolation belt in the rust, which we still are unable to clean up. Access to data on BR002 and BR003 is blocked. BR004 is coming.
We ended up only tackling one of those other Black Rings later, didn't we? Don't remember seeing the other one. Oh wait, no, two of them actually. Two. Title 2 out of the 4. Wait, actually, with this one, 5 Black Rings exist in this city. No one in the city has ever talked about the existence of a Black Ring.
Because the FAC has to do its utmost to stop any Black Ring related information from getting out, in order to prevent secondary disasters. That is, the unpredictable, far-reaching spread of mania. Every time a Black Ring appears, the number of mental cases in the city skyrockets. You don't have to be in contact with contamination to get mentally ill. You might get mentally ill simply by observing a Black Ring, discussing it, or even imagining it. We can't manage the influence of a Black Ring when it's out in the open.
I don't think they keep the mental impacts of the Black Rings the same later on in the story, because then it would just...
Now, we humans have no way of eliminating a Black Ring once it is
I think they kind of tone it down later.
All we can do is to contain its expansion and lessen its effect by blocking the contamination, active camouflage, and information control. This is why information on the Black Ring is strictly confidential. The Black Ring is the source of mania, and simply knowing this piece of information might be enough to bring destruction on ourselves.
How does that have anything to do with sinners?
Misunderstanding caused by information blocking does contribute to sinners being blamed for causing mania. But there's a close link between the appearance of a Black Ring and the behavior of a sinner. With the exception of BR000, whose point of origin hasn't yet been determined, we detected a powerful sinner going manic at the same time when each of the other Black Rings appeared. Such a sinner is called a Black Ring Ground Zero. The M value of Sinner Zoya is already out of range. Once she is corrupted, a Black Ring will descend on Keelan Square immediately. Then, no one inside the ring will survive, and those outside the ring are not going to emerge unscathed. The framework
kind of like
against
nuclear
catastrophe
fallout,
is not trying to sit in judgment on sinners or improve public morals. We have only one job, and that is to do everything we can to fight mania, to prevent the ultimate catastrophe that we humans
That's
wouldn't
all
be able
nice,
to survive.
but we're running out of time.
Killing Zoya is the only course of action that can stop this catastrophe. That's what we'll do. And without you, we don't stand a chance of defeating her.
You want me to kill her?
I'm very sorry.
What if I don't agree? Would you force my hand? His eyes widen, but it's not a reaction to what you've just said.
Enemies, get down!
Spikes of contamination are flying your way. A few forms in white are scrambling to stand in front of you. The first one to manage that is a soldier who, a moment ago, was yelling at you while clutching your collar. Soldier 702. His body has been pierced.
Captain, 10 o'clock. Quick.
036 doesn't say a word. He picks up a gun and starts shooting in that direction. After suppressing the enemy, he picks up his axe. The battle is over. Hella stares the defeated attackers blankly. Among them is one in white armor that's filled with contamination.
It's the FAC team. Looks like they came
Did
here
we...
after the contamination
Wait, did we
outbreak
skip one?
and died here eventually.
Oh man, you have to go now? Alright. It was nice to see you here, Trash. Have a nice evening. Good night for you. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Southeast Asia. Probably pretty late here. Good night.
Poor things. How did they end up like
meow?
this?
Oh,
Didn't they
shoot.
each have
Okay.
a contamination
Meowarding.
shield?
We got our first Meowarding in the street.
Oh.
Thank you for the Meowarding. Wait, what was I doing? Oh. I blanked out for a second.
The contamination shield only provides limited protection. It resists contamination by depleting hypercubes, and hypercubes are hard to come by.
036 comes near you. He goes down on one knee next to Soldier 702, who's lying close to you. Soldier 702's helmet has been shattered, revealing the young face underneath. He detested you, but he didn't think twice before taking a fatal blow for you. Sounds like a Minecraft cat. I'm not sure if that's a compliment. I'll take that as a compliment.
Stop! The Black Ring must stop it!
He was bigoted, but he died protecting you. 036 reaches out to pull the security ring on the inside of Soldier 702's armor, and removes a hypercube contamination shield from the chest of the armor. As soon as he's done so, Soldier 700 stops breathing. It is, because Minecraft cats are cute, thank you. The pain on his face dissipates and his pupils start enlarging. His captain closes his eyes.
Physical trauma can affect one's mental state. He was no longer able to resist the mental contamination here. He died in a human form. This way I could at least recover the hypercubes inside the Mania shield.
Resource management.
This is a valuable resource.
Yep. 036 has recovered 4 blue crystals, which he puts in your palm. He's the sole survivor in his team, but his face is untouched by even a shadow of sadness. This is the kind of rationality required by the FAC too?
Yes. Mind suppression is fundamental to the FAC's fighting. To resist mania, you must have an extremely rational mind. Losing control of your emotions only brings contamination. This can help the MBCC too. It can be trained. It can help you become accustomed to responding to emergencies.
Oh yeah, thanks for the follow. Including the death of your fellows?
Yes. Deaths are part of the game. If you can't accept this, you don't deserve to fight for the FAC.
So that's why you can stay emotionless.
Yes. I'm a member of an FAC combat unit. To fight Black Rings, I can discard all emotions.
That's rough,
Just now
buddy.
you asked me whether I would force your hand if you refused to get involved in the battle. If forcing your hand means my success in killing Zoya, then I will. But the problem is, the Shackle's power comes from your will. So if you have no desire to fight yourself, there's no point in forcing you to.
Very rational answer, I suppose.
We protected you because of that glimmer of hope, that you might identify with our fight and join us in our endeavor. This is all too sudden, too much for you to handle. And again, one can only hope. Even if you choose not to join us, we're still moving on with our mission. This is our duty. We must continue, even if it's a losing battle we're fighting.
No wonder his face sounds like he has the same emotion in every line, because this guy is emotionless. Yeah. Yeah, if he feels a single thing, he'll shrivel up and die, I think. He raises his eyes. The conference hall looms ahead, behind which stands the grand statue of Kalon, overrun with the fast-spreading contamination.
The Dis City is spurned for its many sins, but it's our only home nevertheless. Our city was never built on peace. The world was plagued by mania calamities back then. Without hypercubes, humans had no choice but to hole up in refuges, not knowing what tomorrow would bring. The Dis City's prosperity was built by our many ancestors, with their wisdom, determination, and even lives. But that prosperity is very fragile. It can be taken away by a simple black ring.
I don't know if black rings are simple.
And that great man who went into the mire of despair to retrieve the seeds of hope is long gone. Now, only we can
the
protect
founding
the city.
father of this city.
It rose amid a hellish landscape, and we will not let it fall without a fight. The FAC is giving all it's got to fight mania and safeguard the Dis City. So what's your choice?
And you don't have a quick answer. As he said, this is all too sudden, too much for you to handle. But there is one thing you can be sure of. Move along. Go meet with Zoya. I'm gonna find the answer myself.
Then, at least we can keep each other company for now. I'll do whatever it takes to keep you safe.
Thanks, man.
That's for the sake of that glimmer of hope I cling on to. I hope you'll eventually make up your mind and decide to help us prevent the Black Ring.
As if answering your resolve to march ahead, a multitude of contorted monsters are crawling out of the contamination mist that envelops the conference hall. Actually, oh, we're almost done with the chapter. 3 more parts. This is the entrance to the conference hall. The interior has been trashed, its walls crumbling, its floor dotted with round pits. From the pits grow dense bushes of contamination spikes, inside each of which swirls a pool of dark purple light.
Well, I've never had a fight here. This is over. I'm gonna, as per usual, do a bit of graffiti as a memento.
That's awesome. Her voice is slightly tense.
Chief, you okay?
You're not feeling very well. Since you got here, the shackles connected to Zoya have been in a manic state. Something has been continuously tearing at your consciousness. You're very close to Zoya. It's only normal to be affected, but something is wrong with this place. Where did everyone go? The attendees, the guards, and the soldiers who ambushed... Wait, I need to drink water. And the soldiers who ambushed Zoya, all of them have simply vanished. They didn't turn into corruptors or end up as corpses.
They're dead. Someone killed them.
036 squats down beside a pit. It seems to be the upshot of a powerful punch, with spiderweb-like cracks radiating from its center. He runs a hand over the cracks and it comes up with viscous blood.
Step back.
Hecate shields you behind her, but pits of death like this have overrun the entire ground, hemming you in.
There's no sign they were mentally contaminated. They were killed at the instant of the contamination outbreak. This is what's left of their remains.
Damn. Oops, accidentally skipped the last of his line. At the other end of the hall is a pile of FAC members' corpses.
All those who made it here were also eradicated.
Ow.
This is the power of the inheritance? So brutal.
The Black Ring hasn't formed yet. There's still time. We must stop it before this tragedy is repeated.
He means that there's still time to kill Zoya. God damn. That's rough, buddy. She's still fighting. She is ahead of you. Her power is swelling to the utmost, and her feverish emotions are churning. Anger, sadness, and hatred mixed with some irrepressible impulse. Zoya's still fighting. It's not over yet. We still have a chance.
If that's the case, it'll be great.
You need something to stabilize her. Anything that you can use to awaken her. You need more measures at your disposal. Has Earl been here?
No. We're the only ones who've made it here after the outbreak.
You don't know that.
Should we wait for him?
We don't have time.
As if a magnetic field has been turned on, the masses of dark purple substance slowly come into being. Come into being in the air, twisting and transforming. Then they land on their feet, these powerful monsters you've never seen before. It senses you through the shackles, just like you do, Zoya. These monsters that stand in your way are crumbling, but in their wake, a tumultuous, chaotic emotion rushes into your head.
Kill it! Destroy it! Smash it! Destroy it! Destroy it! Destroy it! Shut up!
The thing that's ensnared Zoya also takes hold of you.
Chief! Chief, are you alright? Hey, can you hear me? Come on. This is killing me!
Screaming in your head is turning your nerves into a mush. Such mental pain produces severe vertigo in you, and you start vomiting non-stop.
The shackles are putting too much strain on the Chief. What should we do?
Stay away. You're connected to her through the shackles. You'd be affected. Let me take care of this.
He produces 2 hyper-pyramids and presses one against each of your temples. He lowers his head and looks deep into your eyes.
Wake up. Listen to me. It's just you and me here. Focus your mind, then suppress it. You're strong. You won't be defeated.
You're gasping, straining to hold on to his voice. Slowly, blue light chases away the scarlet mist before your eyes. You calm down and find yourself surrounded by your sinners, who are looking at you with a worried expression on their faces.
The monsters from just now were the products of Zoya going manic. Her mental contamination. Anger, resentment, hatred, and a reckless desire to wreak destruction. She is extremely dangerous now.
She's still fighting, just like us. She hasn't given in. She's connected to me through the shackles. Maybe there's some other way to prevent the Black Ring.
I understand. If you see something that I can't, if what you see is hope, then go and fight with all your might. I'll be protecting you.
Okay. You'll fight on. You hear her roar coming from the other end of the shackles. Zoya's still there. You clutch the shackles that are causing you so much pain, ready to fight to bring her back. Zoya, I'm coming. Can you hear me? From the other end comes a soul-shaking roar, clenching the hyper-pyramids 036 gave you. You managed to pull yourself up tight and head for I can't read. Head for the closed door, trying to catch up with 036.
Don't touch me! Don't order me around!
Zoya, hang in there. I'm coming.
Get lost!
A heavy double door marks the entrance of the hall. It's got stuck in contamination. 036 is pushing it hard with one hand on each door. You come forward, put your hands on the door, and start pushing with him. Fuck. Zoya, it's me! The chaotic roar stops short, and the other 3 voices around you disappear too. Silence descends. You've never felt so clearly the existence of the shackles connected to her.
I hear it. It's you. It's you.
A voice pipes up in the depths of your conscious, a dark, twisted, and decadent voice, which evokes that familiar, sickening feeling.
It's you! You're getting in my way!
Chief.
Spikes shoot out of the door, and a few of them pierce 036's torso. Helen makes to stop it, but is nailed to the spot. Hecate pushes you aside. From behind the contamination spouting door, berserk polymers crawl out. You can hear the voice from behind him more clearly now. A voice similar to the one made by the Inheritance, but more frantic and wild.
She is mine!
Roar. You see a crack in the chaotic battle space. As you make for it, 3 filthy monsters pounce on you. Get out of here! Red beams burst out of your right hand. You blow the enemies with your power and make a hole in the wall of contamination in front of you. The side effect of forcing a blast comes shortly, but you have no time for that. You hurry into the conference hall. Oh shit. She's still standing there in the exact spot she got pierced. Spikes dot Zoya's body as if he has just gone through a brutal execution, head hanging low. He shows no reaction whatsoever to your entering.
Don't touch me. I'm not.
He's murmuring. Her eyes are aimless, her voice is hoarse, and her fists that smash the ground is cracked. Marks of mania binding her body and searing her soul. You know she's still fighting with all her might against the filthy presence that has invaded her consciousness. Zoya, I'm here.
You don't stand a chance. Not a chance. I won't lose. I won't lose.
Zoya, I'm here to fight with you. You reach out for her, trying to awaken her with the shackles. But right at this moment, Zoya raises her head, purple flames burning in her eyes, and her murderous malice devours you at once.
Don't touch me! Go to hell!
Chief.
You sustain a mighty punch in the chest and are sent flying backward a few meters. Nightmare catches you and you spit out blood. Through your hazy vision, you see a red patch of flesh, moist and mushy, clinging to her right shoulder. A patch of fat flesh cracks, and a lone eye pops open, staring at you like a black hole.
She's mine. Whatever she wants, I can provide.
Evil British man.
Just like this. Fight, Zoya. Destroy everything in front of you. Fight on. This is the source of your power. Your true self.
Can they make his voice a little louder?
What it craves is you.
The music's so loud.
This state.
Bing, 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 bing. After this, we will end. The exchange of fire between gangs made a massive breach on the outer wall of the statue, exposing an internal fire escape. Standing on the ladder is a tall, thin man holding an umbrella. He looks down at the conference hall as well as the square in general.
Oh, I'm still here. What a magnificent view. It makes my labors all worthwhile.
Oh, the background kind of looks like just amalgamations of like firearms bursting out of the stairs. I didn't notice that before. That's cool. Like, it's not exactly firearms, but it's kind of like an abstraction of them. That's pretty cool.
A long-lost miracle will soon happen. How are you feeling now? Happy?
We gotta kill this guy.
My apologies for keeping you waiting. Things change. We must adjust our plan in time. will you forgive me?
No.
After all, this multi-year project is done, and I've overachieved.
An explosion happens in the conference hall. Purple light and crowds of sharp spikes overturn the roof of the building. The loud boom shakes the floor underneath the man's feet.
Does the noise bother you? We've got a couple of little intruders who are trying to put together an opening act for us. They call this thing shackles, right? They've probably modified the technology they had stolen back then and used it to tie up a few lambs. That has brought a little accident to our plan. Then again, thanks to them, we found such good seeds. Syndicate has nurtured the best seeds. So powerful, so pure, so passionate and fearless. The ones who dare to oppose the gods, and are thus favored by them. It doesn't matter if they've already been marked by others. We just have to snatch them.
He watches the exposed battlefield and the person throwing up blood.
Alas, the pitiful and lovable ones. Continue with your hopeless struggle. Such admirable willpower will make an excellent decoration for the ring.
He thinks he's so awesome. He thinks he's so moral. Ashen-faced Hecate is holding your hand shakily. Hell is also very weak. 036 is left outside, unsure if dead or alive. The bloody flesh with one eye open, slowly merging into Zoya's body. Its evil eye glaring at you. You can feel the strong hatred, jealousy, and mockery in it.
Destroy and all of this!
Using the shackles on Zoya again will only further burden Hela and Hecate. But there's no way back for you. You must fight. Her battle shouldn't have been like this. You can't let her be taken away. I'm sorry, Hecate. Please lend me your power one more time.
I will. Anytime. Stop her, Chief. Only you can do
I'm to think it isn't Hecate, not Hecate. They say Hecate in-game, so that's how I pronounce it, but I know it's Hecate. Yeah, that's just the in-game pronunciation.
That person is still alive. Chief, you did it. Get some rest. You've just overused your shackle of power during the fight. Your body is almost out of strength.
Yeah, it makes me realize they're dumb. Listen, it's like an Umineko where they keep spelling Beatrice's name as Beatrice. At some point you just get used to it. At some point it just becomes how you spell it. Beatrice!
Get some rest. I'll bring back Zoya with you. Chief, where are you going?
I think I have to lie down. But I'll try to look a bit more. Thank you for coming. I'm almost done either way. I hope you and I have a nice rest. You walk towards Zoya. Your brain feels heavy, but your steps feel light and weak. You feel like falling with each step, but you still make your way to her clumsily. Also weird localization moment, I guess. Yeah, it's true. Zoya is unconscious. The spikes on her body have not disappeared. She's standing with her head dropped low, looking like a prisoner awaiting execution or tombstone over a dead person. If you're almost done, I might as well stay. Yeah, I think it's either the one before last or the last part of chapter 5. Then I will stream. You tug at the shackles and feel nothing but filthy contamination on the other end. That thing is still there. Its weakness has triggered its survival instincts, causing it to drill deeper into Zoya's soul. I don't like voice acting intense moments. Wake up! Think of what you should be doing. take out the hyper pyramids given to you by 036. Like he did, you press your hands on Zoya's temples and hold her hand, ordering and pleading. All the pyramids are being consumed rapidly. The blue crystals dim and shatter quickly, slipping through your hands like sand. Your consciousness soon starts blurring as well. Don't let it lead you away. It's not you. Your head is still bowed low, but a contorted hand suddenly raises to strangle your throat.
It's mine. It's mine!
Nightmare.
Kate doesn't have enough strength left to summon the nightmare. As of Zoya, the shackles have become extremely heavy, pressing down on everyone linked to you. Their faces all look absolutely agonized.
Killing Zoya is the only course of action that can stop this catastrophe.
There's a gun in your pocket.
Stop! The Black Ring.
You gonna do it? You gonna kill him?
It.
Better make it work. Better make it count. Better do it in one shot. No, I'm kidding. Don't kill Zoya. At this distance, you won't even miss. As if sensing your thought, the surrounding contamination swarm towards your hands. But several blue bullets fly from behind you at the same time, crushing the filth.
Hey! Do it! Only you can do it!
From the corner of your eye, you see that Hela is lying unconscious on the ground. Hecate has lost her nightmare, and 036 is leaning on the wall, covering you with his last bit of strength. Out of bullet, his eyes are almost imploring. You don't know what the Black Ring is, but you know full well that if it's not stopped, it will crush everyone here. The force strangling you is becoming stronger. This is a life or death battle between you and this presence. Your hands are finally moving, and your choice is... Actually, I picked gun last time. I mean, I picked shackle, but I want to see what happens if I shoot. But no, I don't wanna kill Zoya. I don't wanna kill Zoya. I don't wanna. No, I'll go with shackles again. Not pulling out the gun, you cover her forehead with your hand. With your power, you could have broken my neck easily, but I'm still alive. You're here, right, Zoya? Answer me. Come back with me.
Stop! You won't be able to stand it! Don't!
You activate the shackles.
Don't let her go! Let her go! She's mine! I'm gonna kill you! I'm gonna kill you!
The force strangling your neck suddenly strengthens. Your consciousness begins to blur and you can't hear the shouts of others. The shrill loud voices are fading and you can only hold tight to only one thought. Can't let go. A series of bullets hit the hand strangling you. The arm explodes and breaks off like black gel. Your body gives out and falls back, and your hand moves away from Zoya's body.
Chief.
Yeah, Zoya's voice actor is really good. Perhaps the hope of survival has granted her power. A torn nightmare summoned, and before the contamination it gathers to form an arm again, the nightmare wraps itself around you and drags you away from danger. Oh shit, hi. You lie down still. Familiar metallic footsteps sound on the cold floor. Someone you know walks into the hall.
You are more stubborn than I imagined. Your shackles have already failed. Stop trying to get yourself killed for nothing. It's not yet time for you to act.
Say?
I'll leave Commander to you.
This is his last words to you. The man steps over you and makes his way to Zoya. With that single bloody eye. Contamination spills out again, wrapping around his wounded body from the bottom up, only to be met with a sneer from the Legion advisor.
What a sight. You're so badly injured by that one there. In this condition. You can't descend anymore, even if you completely suck the lifeblood of the commander, can you?
Give it to me! Give it to me!
He presses firmly on the scar on her body left by the intruding bloody flesh.
Leave her alone. I'll help you. Take my bones and blood, my soul, my everything.
You're not worthy enough! You're not! You...
Strange white light leaks from Earl's hand. The light seems surprisingly familiar.
Ah, it's her! It's her! Give it to me! Give it to me!
Power suddenly surges. Sharp black spikes pierce through Earl's body and coil themselves around him like tentacles, dragging him near Zoya.
Stop! Stay away from her! Cinder shouldn't get close, or the Black Ring will destroy everything here!
So what? This place is not worth her life.
Damn.
Come on, dear city. Reckoning time has come. Embrace the Black Ring. This is what you get from the vile seed you've planted in Syndicate. You deserve it.
Earl's voice acts are really good too. The filth growls as it swallows the two and fuses them into one. The spikes shatter the ground and overturn the ceiling. A murky purple light erupts and obliterates everything before your eyes. Obliterates. Dang it. The moment you see the luminous red ring, countless dark shadows cling onto your consciousness and drag it into an abyss. Oh, what's happening? Why? What? I don't think it's supposed to look like that. Oh, there it is. Oh, so cool.
The job is done. We should go before the troublesome spiders crawl here.
We need to kill you, man. Fuck, I didn't mean to go. Well, I think that's it, right? Yes, that's it. Yay. Check it out. Wait, why can't I use my carousel? Ugh, I have to go Eternal Nightmare for these. I do want the rest of the mobs. Wait, I'll check if I have 3 views or more, and I will raid if so. Okay, we're not raiding. That's fine. I will upload this on YouTube in the next week, probably. Next week I won't have a stream, but maybe the week after I will. Last month I only had 1 stream. I want to make up for it.